That there. All right, here we go. Three, two, one.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Dive Bomb Industries and our good friends at Dirty Duck Coffee. If your coffee sucks, it's not the duck.
Yes.
I am Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
Yes, sir. Hopefully your camera is done malfunctioning, whatever the hell was going on.
Boy, you got out of a close one this week, didn't you?
They called my name for jury duty. Like they called me to be one of the jurors.
Well, first of all, let's don't act like you're special. There are 3,300 people live in Knox County. 10% of them were at the courthouse getting on jury duty.
Less than 10%, but you're
pretty damn close, about 8%.
Close. Well, 7.5.
Okay, 7.5%. But it was me, you, and Mom were on there.
Yep.
And Andy was juror number one.
Number uno.
What I did not understand is they cut it down to 36 people, but they kept all 4,000 of us in the damn courtroom. And me and Andy were 2 of the 36 that they had to question. Mm-hmm. And then when the questioning was done, Andy accidentally was on the list for the juror. And juror number 1, Richard Andrew Shaver. Andy turned red, and then the judge goes, that's the wrong list.
That's the wrong list.
So Andy got off jury duty. And now you're disappointed you're not on there.
Would have been great entertainment.
It was screwed up our whole week because we've got a lot of podcasts to do. Anyways,
have you ever been called for jury duty, Trent?
I have. We were in a courtroom. There was, I don't know, big old courtroom with all of us in there. And they come in and written Alford plea, and we were out.
Oh, really? Yep. So here's how this shook out. Jeff and I had to be there at 9:30. That's when ours started. It started at 10:15, of course, because they were late. And like Jeff said, we're in a small community, and there was a line out the door of people checking in for when we were doing it. And it got to be 4:30, and we're all just sitting there, and we're like, these motherfuckers have kept us here all day, and they're going to cop a plea right now. And I was going to be pissed. I was like, listen, motherfucker, because he's on trial for conspiracy to commit murder. And I was like, listen, if you kept us here all day and now you cop a plea, I'm gonna be pissed. You wanted a trial this whole time, and now you saw the potential jurors and you're gonna cop a plea. So anyway, it should be done tomorrow. But yeah, Jeff and I both got out.
And thank God for that stuff. I did not want to be on a damn jury anyways. But what a long waste of a day.
And I don't understand that, because you love the judging gig. Why don't you want to be a juror?
I don't want to be a judge no more either. I don't want to do either one of them. I'll tell you why. The cheeseball defense attorney.
Yeah.
He wore me the hell out. Pushing for probation. Now, you think probation is really good for someone that shot someone? Fuck no. Who the hell thinks that's good? You know? That's why I got off, because I said something basically to that degree. So, anyways, our guest today is from Eldora, Iowa, has Retrieving Freedom. And the gentleman's name, Trent Dirks. Trent, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
I am doing wonderful.
Better now that we dodged that jury duty bullet. But
so
you know how it is.
So tell us your story. You are a wounded vet. Is that correct?
I'm a veteran. Yes. Not necessarily wounded. I'm not a Purple Heart recipient. Struggle a lot with PTSD and depression, anxiety. And those mental symptoms from war. So
that we're seeing more and more of that PTSD. So I during my homework on you, you said you had 2 friends commit suicide, take their own lives within the first 18 months of you getting out.
It was all within about a year and a half, but it was The first one was 2.5 years after we got back.
Mm-hmm.
So all between 2013 and 2015, I had two of them that was really close to take their lives. And
And
it was,
does this come out of left field for you, or had you been talking to these guys and kind of your radar was up a little bit on these two gentlemen?
no, actually the first one really took me by surprise. He was my medic. And he got blown up when I was hitting ID when I was home on leave, and I talked to him probably a month and a half before he took his life. And I mean, the conversation that we had, he'd been going through a lot of pain in his legs and stuff. He had broken both legs below the knee, just crushed them. And but he was talking about getting back in the gym, possibly opening his own gym, and then woke up and got a phone call, and it's like, oh, that's not good.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. You fight with these guys on the battlefield, and then all of a sudden, you make it home and you think it's over, but it's not. It's not even close to. Battle still going on.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, really, in my opinion, it's easier when you're there. I mean, it's primitive. It's life or death. You know what you're eating. You know where you're going. You know what you're doing, and you rely on the guys to your left and your right, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get home and you kind of disperse if you're in the guard, or you go on a block leave, or you go back into training mode, but you kind of lose your purpose. You battle everything that happened while you were over there, and you're not living as closely as you were with those guys to rely on them. And then all the other stresses of life, bills and everything else, and relationships, it's a nightmare coming home.
Yeah, it's simple over there. You're on a one lane road, and it's forward. Everything's taken care of. Like you said, the meals, what time you get up, what you're going to do that day, and it's all laid out right there in front of you. You're just going forward. It's when you get home that shit, you got all these different variables that you're not used to handling when you're overseas. What could we do to curtail how many veterans take their lives on a daily basis? Are there more, I guess World War II, you saw the rise of the VFW, and guys kind of got together and shared time that way. I mean, are there more organizations that we could see? I mean, you talked about whenever you get back home, you start, working out for the next mission. Could there possibly be something like that we could see happening?
Possibly. I mean, there's so many different nonprofits popping up to try and help veterans in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from service dog organizations like what I'm with to, nonprofits that take veterans out hunting or hiking or bicycling or exercising, to therapy, to group therapy sessions. I mean, there's everything under the sun. I think, I was reading something this morning, and this is something that I've told myself. I really battled alcohol for a long time, and you're not going to get any help if you don't help yourself, right? You can give somebody all the tools. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink.
Sure.
So I think, it's getting a little bit better, but there's still this stigma of, being tough and toughing it out and not asking for help, which is something that's over probably the last 5 years, I would say, has really started to, hey, all right, if you're having issues, let's try to fix them. Let's get you help.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's like one curtail fix all type thing. Everyone's got to get help in their own way, but they've got to be willing to ask for help.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, not just with soldiers, but
Oh,
with men in general.
100%. 100%.
Like, I don't know that I could ask for help. I mean, I just know my character and my makeup, and I don't ask for help on really anything. And I couldn't imagine being a soldier and being this, this person that's conquered the world and gone into battle and made it out. And it's like, I don't need fucking help. I got this.
Being in your own head is the hardest thing in the world to do, to get out of. I mean, what's between your ears, if you got a battle going on between there, it's the hardest thing in the world to get it out sometimes. It can apply to anything. It can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be gambling, it can be sex, it can be whatever the hell your addiction is or your problems is. You're your own worst enemy inside of your own ears. And that's
yes.
And I'm a firm believer of that. I know people that are I've known everybody that's had every kind of fucking issue in the world, and the biggest problem they have is getting they're their own worst enemy so many times. I know people that have everything that are depressed, and I'm like, why the hell are you depressed? You got everything by the balls. And I know people that don't have shit that are as happy about life as could possibly be. But it seems to be the people can't get ahead of themselves, and they're their own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the answer is. But I believe everybody has some sort of addiction of some sort. I really do. I believe that wholeheartedly. Everybody has some sort of addiction.
I don't know about that.
I think they do. I just depends on how bad of addiction it is.
What would I be addicted to, Jeff?
Being an asshole. I don't know. You've got some stuff that you do that's quirky, that's your deal. It's just a degree.
Quirk is not an addiction.
Well, but you have things that you maybe it's coffee. I don't know. I don't know.
Jeff, I could drop anything at the
Oh yeah, here we go.
Drop of a hat.
Mr. Perfect there. So tell me how two regular guys like me and you sitting with this asshole Andy who has no problems at all in the world. How did you get into how did the dogs and the hunting get into helping you help others?
It's not necessarily a short story, but
tell it anyway. We got all the time in the world.
All right. So, I deployed in 2010, 2011. So about, 12 years ago now. And when I got back, I had a newborn, which definitely added to my whirlwind of things changing from war to coming home. He was a year old when I got home, so trying to adjust to having a newborn, civilian life, not being at war, nightmares. I struggled a lot with PTSD and depression, anxiety, public places. And then I lost my first friend to suicide in 2013, and that hurt really bad. And then I started my own business in 2014, trying to shoe horses, being a farrier, and it took an enormous toll, both physically and mentally, on me. Well, October 31st of 2015, let me back up about 3 weeks. I got medically retired due to PTSD on October 5th of 2015. Mm-hmm. And then October 31st, I lost my second friend to suicide. And I was just in such a bad place that I didn't know what to do. And I'd heard about Retrieving Freedom. It was local. And I'd heard that they're training service dogs for veterans. I didn't necessarily know how it applied to me, is because for the most part, I'm physically capable, but struggled mentally. Mm-hmm. And then was informed that, they can help decrease the anxiety, help you get out into public, help bridge some of those gaps that you're struggling with, grounding, positional commands, nightmare interruptions, as well as doing physical tasks as well. And wound up applying for a service dog, and I got Tracer. I started working with him December of 2015. And I remember the day I met him, it was just love at first sight. And there started to be a little bit of light for me. And things started getting better. But March of 2016, I lost another friend. That was an on-duty police officer that I served with in the Army that was killed by a drunk driver when he was on duty.
Jeez.
And it kind of started sending me spiraling out of control again. My work was really struggling. I wasn't able to communicate with people. I was really having a lot of panic attacks. And I was struggling physically to do the work as well. I mean, I was just struggling to get out of bed. By January of 2017, I became too disabled to work, both physically and mentally. And then May of 2017, I lost another friend to a bad accident. It was my squad leader. I could not get ahead, and I was heavily self-medicating with alcohol. I just wanted to die. I didn't want to be here anymore. I wanted the pain to end. And July of 2017, I remember driving down the road, contemplating letting go of the wheel of my truck. And old Tracer got up on the center console of my truck, and he started licking my face, sat down, put his paw in my hand. And when I looked over at him, he just looked me in the eye. And when he did, he stared right into my soul and told me I needed to get help. And I wound up making a phone call to the VA Medical Center in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I attended their treatment program for about 4 months, focusing on substance abuse and PTSD. Been able to maintain my sobriety since August 5th of 2017. And then since then, Tracer helped me get in the front door of that place. He helped me get through the program, and he's helped me overcome so much stuff since then. You know, getting out into public, going to the grocery store, the gas station, getting involved in my son's life more, being able to go to his school functions and stuff. I've been able to take him to a professional hockey game. We just went to a semi-pro game here last week, you know, and then I go out and I talk to people, you know, in front of groups of 5 people to 500-600 people. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that probably made me decide that I really needed to give back was one of the guys that I went to treatment with had called me. It was probably the end of January, beginning of February of 2018. So we'd been out of treatment about 3 months, and he had relapsed. And he called me and said, I mean, he was just belligerent. And he said, dude, I don't know what to do, but I'm at the end of my rope right now. The cops have been here. My folks have been here. The ambulance took me out last night. I don't know what to do. I'm getting evicted. I said, stay there, try to quit drinking, drink some water, and I'm on my way. I drove about, I think it was 7 or 8 hours. He lived up in the suburbs of Minneapolis, and I was down at the Iowa City VA that morning. I drove up, picked him up, brought him back to my house, sobered him up, introduced him to Retrieving Freedom. He wound up applying for a dog, getting a dog, and now he's been sober for probably just hit his 4-year mark. He now just recently got engaged and is working for a nonprofit in Texas. And seeing other people that were struggling as much as I was get the help and assistance through a service dog, there's nothing, absolutely nothing in this world more rewarding for me than to see another veteran get a service dog and retrieve their freedom, retrieve their independence, and get their life back.
Jeez, crazy. Wow. All from a 4-legged canine, and you've turned it around. They're amazing creatures, what they can do for people. What was it about going into public that made you seize up so much? You said you couldn't go out into public. You couldn't go to the grocery store even.
I mean, everything from, just the crowd and everything going on around you, because, excuse me. Oh my God. I threw my back out on Thursday.
Uh-oh. What were you doing? You don't know. It just went out on you.
Just went out. But the crowd and everything going on, because when you're deployed, a crowd is a dangerous area, right? I mean, anytime there's people around, you're extremely vigilant and watching everything. And so, like, going to the grocery store, there's just so many different things going on. It would just, like, put me into overload, like I didn't know what to focus on, and I'd just start spinning. And like a simple disagreement or somebody being in my way or something like that would just flip a switch, like, hey, the fuck out of the way. What are you doing? I mean, it was just ridiculous, and everything turned into a conflict. And I mean, it was a nightmare. I'd always start hyperventilating. And I couldn't do it.
So were you combative? Were you combative on instances in these public places with people? Or did it never get physical?
It never really got physical. I mean, I'm sure there was probably I know there was plenty of bar fights, but I wouldn't say I ever knocked anybody out at a Walmart.
Right. Hey, pick your fucking cereal and let's go.
Yeah, pretty much is how it would go. But it just would become confrontational, and there was no reason for it.
So when you started drinking, what was that? Was that a okay? Let me get a beer down real quick, and maybe that'll kind of take the edge off of me going into this public place, and then that just escalates? Is that kind of how that gets out of control?
Yeah, I would say that's probably more or less how it started, is let me have a beer to calm down and relax. And then it turned into, I just used it as a crutch for so long to try and help me get by, help me get through into, well, I'm depressed, I'll have a beer, to, man, I'm just going to drink my sorrows away and hopefully not wake up in the morning.
Right. Oof. What, so the dog being beside you, is that just something that, do you feel his energies off of it, or is it just now like you can depend on him to be there whenever you go through this, and is he like your reminder of why you're doing what you're doing?
Kind of. So service dogs are actually trained to perform tasks to mitigate a disability. That's the definition. So what he actually does is like positional commands. So if I'm at Walmart and I'm in the checkout line, he'll actually sit behind me so that nobody can come up too close to me.
Okay. Which
will relieve some of my anxiety. So he'll actually lean into me so I know he's there and somebody's not pushing a cart up or coming up to attack me from behind or something like that. He'll also sit in front of me so somebody can't get too close and talk to me. I would say he more feeds off of me, letting me know that I'm getting anxious. So he'll like nudge my leg, like, hey, you're getting anxious. You need to pay me attention. I'm here. We're safe. And then if I start like really getting into like an anxiety attack or a panic attack, he'll actually jump up and let me know and say, hey, like, let's go outside.
How the hell do they train a dog to do that?
So it's not probably as complicated as you think. A lot of treats.
Yeah.
But
But they're going off of pure nonverbal communication. They're going off purely the scent in the air.
Well, to an extent, yes. So dogs are very intuitive, so they can pick up on very subtle changes in your body, whether it's your chemicals, or just your energy, right? They can pick up on that. So you're actually going to train the dog to perform the task, right? Whether it's the positional command, whether it's paws up and letting you know that, really getting your attention. And then what you do to train them to actually do the task when it's needed is you try to recreate what you do. So if somebody starts tapping their leg when they get anxious, well, now when you're training, you can tap your leg, give the command, they perform the task, you reward. So then eventually you tapping your leg becomes the new cue for them to perform the task.
Jeez. It seems complicated. You're explaining it very well, but it seems quite complicated. So is each dog tailored to each different person? Like, did you, when Tracer was being trained, did you have to go somewhere and like somebody had to pick up on your cues to when you're getting anxious? Now he knows, or how does he know what your cues are?
A little bit of both. So yes, I did. We have 2 facilities, one in Sedalia, Missouri, and one in Waverly, Iowa. So our clients will come and work with their dog and do roughly about 100 hours of training at staff supervised at the facility or in and around the community. But yes, we do tailor them for each specific individual. So what we want to do is match the dog and the client based on personality and physical needs of the dog and the client. And then what we do from there is, okay, you're going to need this task, this task, this task. Okay, let's train these tasks. And now as we're training these tasks, you're going to be working with the dog and asking this dog to perform these tasks when you need them, or recreating that scenario in a simple environment, say at the facility at first, so that performs the task, and then going out into public and having them perform the task in public or with other distractions going on. And then they'll do about 100 hours of a home visit, make sure that everything's copacetic, everything's meshing really well, and then they'll get placed.
What's the washout rate on these dogs? Because I got to imagine that, my dog, and I don't know if it's just because of what I've trained him to do. He's a high velocity hunting dog. That's what I needed. He could not be a service dog. I mean, he's not Tracer back there laying on the couch, just snuggled up. And
he would surprise you, though.
You think so?
Don't let his calm demeanor surprise you.
Tracer? Oh, okay. He's
Lou would be
the shithead every once in a while.
Andy's dog would be the dog that, poor sucker in a wheelchair, if they had him and they had him on a leash, that would go for a ride from hell probably. Yes. Because Lou's got 2 speeds. And stop and full blast.
He's huge too. He's close to 100 pounds. I mean, he's big. And I gotta imagine that, they run into the occasional high velocity, no quit dog that's just like, he might be good for something else, but he's not it.
So we do have our own breeding program.
Okay.
So we breed quite a few. We're trying to really expand it on our own breeding program so we can breed almost all of our own service dogs, but we work with some of the best service dog breeders in the country. Now, industry standard is 35% success rate. So
35%. 65% don't make it.
Correct.
Wow.
We're actually overall about 45%. And when we use our own breeding stock, we're at about 53%.
Nice. Are they British? Are they British labs?
A lot of them are British.
Yeah.
British style.
They've got the British style, and I'm not knocking anybody that's got a British.
But you're fixing to, right?
They're more laid back. I mean, we've had guys that have British dogs out here. My best friend, Ryan Falks, his dog is British. And
Dad had one for a long time, Rhea.
That dog, you do not know that dog's in the room. I mean, he can tell it right here, and it's chill. But that's their genetic makeup.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dogs are like people.
Right.
Different energy levels, different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of the same.
How old was Tracer when he came home with you?
When he got placed with me, he was 2 years old.
And had he do they start working with this dog at 8 weeks?
Yep. So they'll enter a foster home. We've got probably hundreds of fosters that'll foster these dogs from 8 weeks to about 10 to 12 months old. And then they'll get evaluated by our staff twice a month, and they get tasks to work on and things to do. And then they come back to us, enter some of our impact programs. We work with a couple different universities, a couple different prisons, some elementary school teachers. And they just expose these dogs to other environments, as well as working with our staff. And then from about 18 months to 24 months is pretty much strictly working with our staff and our potential clients, right? And trying to find that match and tailoring them to those individuals.
Now,
and they'll get placed at about 2 years old.
Now, y'all do a lot with autistic children too, right?
Yeah, we place dogs for children with autism as well.
That's a really special thing. My wife got on to me the other day, and she had a good point, and it really woke me up on something. And I'm a hard-headed old fucker, but at the casino, there's this old hippie guy that's got this dog. It's a service dog, and it's a cow dog of some sort. And he's got the vest on it and stuff. And
Blue Heeler, some
yes.
type of deal.
And every time I see it, I thought, that dog ain't no more of a service dog than Ollie is. And she told me, she goes, you shouldn't judge that guy because you don't know his story. And maybe that dog is his only companion. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, that – because I've never understood these people, and this goes way back, and I'm trying to become a better person. But a long time ago, when they had the big Hurricane Rita or something, these people were on this roof of this house, and there's this lady, and she's got 3 dogs, and she wouldn't get in the boat, and these people are trying to save her life, and they didn't have room for 3 dogs. They had to get 3 more people on there, and I'm like, damn it, it's a dog. Get in the boat and go. But as I get older and I see more things, and after listening to Michelle, and I saw that guy again the other day, and I watched him a while. A dog, it can be a lot. It don't have to be a Labrador Retriever or whatever it is. If it's a companion and it's there for you and it does something for you, and I see things a little bit different, but my wife really enlightened me on that the other day, and I started thinking about more, and I see more of that stuff. And an animal really can play a vital role in someone, especially someone that's fighting demons, because they don't judge you.
Right. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, non-judgmental, unconditional love.
Yes, that is. So how does it work with autistic children?
So a lot more challenging, but they do a lot of similar tasks, but a lot of it is deep pressure therapy. So autism is a sensory disorder. And for those of you, you guys might not know, actually 1 in 44 children is put on the autism spectrum.
That surprises me. It's not more than that even.
But that is so, and we can get into this too a little bit later on, but it has gone up significantly since the 80s and 90s. And I don't know if it's because we're seeing more autism or if it's because we're getting better at diagnosing what autism really is.
Yeah. There's a lot of discussion about whys and hows, but so some of the tasks are like, sensory overload. I mean, is just, I can somewhat relate to that, where it's too much. So children don't know how to cope with that. So weighted blankets are a thing. Temple Grandin came out with deep pressure therapy, I don't know how many years ago. You can't carry around a 50-pound weighted blanket, right? That's just not going to happen.
Right.
But a 4-legged 50-pound dog can definitely walk right beside you, right? And you start getting into sensory overload. Now the child can sit down. The dog can come lay right on top of them, act as that weighted blanket. Child can pet the dog, and that 3-4 hour meltdown turns into a couple minutes. They get up, hey, all right, move out. So we call that crashing, where the dog will just come and lay right on top of the child and try to mellow them out. Another thing for our children that have a tendency to bolt is teaching the dog to tether, where the child will wear a safety belt that's attached to the dog's vest, and mom and dad have control of the dog with the leash. Now, if the child decides to try and bolt, the dog will actually lay down, act as kind of an anchor for that child, and then the child's got a handle. So they go over, they hit the end of the tether. Oh, I can't go anywhere. Go back, grab my handle. Dog gets up. They go about. Well, now you can identify non-verbally what the child might have been trying to do, whether it's going to a drinking fountain or going to the restroom or going to look at, a snack or something like that. And mom and dad can try and figure out, oh, well, you wanted some water. Do you want some water? Yeah. Okay, let's get some water. So it opens up a little bit of communication there as well. And then they do the same, acting as a social bridge, because instead of being different, which they may still be different, but now it's a different kind of different because they have a service dog that walks next to them, and people can ask them more questions about them, or, hey, that's a really great looking dog. And now they can say, hey, thank you, and form a conversation from there.
So what did Temple Grandin say the pressure was for autistic individuals when the dog will lay on them? What is the pressure and the weighted blanket? What does that do? Is it a soothing mechanism?
Yes. Yeah. So for whatever reason, it's like a security type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that weight on you, and Tracer will do the same thing sitting on my foot, is it's like hard to explain. And I wish I had a better answer for this, but Temple Grandin did research that said,
for those people that don't know, explain who Temple Grandin is.
Temple Grandin she's got a doctorate, and she was diagnosed with autism.
Yeah.
And has done tons of research about, the effects and how to cope with autism and what exactly it is, and a whole bunch of, she's a very intelligent woman. And a lot of these children with autism are very, very intelligent.
Right.
It's just a sensory disorder,
Right. They can't abstract. So one thing Temple Grandin said is, so if you walk into your kitchen, you have your kitchen set up a certain way, and you walk into your kitchen. Well, if you move one chair out of place, when she walks into a room, she does not see kitchen chair move. She sees an entirely different room. So she can't abstract kitchen when one little thing has changed. And then it becomes sensory overload, and then she goes into autistic people go into a panic because they can't say, right, it's the same kitchen, I just moved the bar stool over. They say they see totally different room. Where am I at? Danger, high alert. So she also reinvented slaughterhouses. So the typical slaughterhouse a long time ago, it would have blunt corners, be like a square. She designed it to where it's like a spiral staircase so that they never stop moving. They just slowly work their way. And she thinks more like an animal, because if there was like a Coke can in the way of these cows going to slaughter, everything would freeze on the Coke can, because we're walking, Coke can's there, danger, I got to stop. So she's a very, very fascinating woman, the work that she's done.
I think that
autism.
The greatest entrepreneur of all time, other than maybe Thomas Edison, is Elon Musk. And I will bet you a steak dinner that Elon Musk is on that autism spectrum somewhere.
I think he says he has Asperger's, doesn't he?
Well,
which is on the spectrum.
Yes. My youngest son, who doesn't listen to our podcast probably, I think he's on, and he's a very, very intelligent person, but I think Payne's on that little thing. I think, and he told me that the job that he does is high tech and stuff, and he told me that everybody in the room he's in is somewhere on that spectrum a little bit, somewhere or another. And I really believe that with a lot of our sharpest minds are that way.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And I think what you said is best. When people think of autism, they think about, this is sad to say, and I'm going to come across really mean, but a lot of people don't realize that autism is not a mental really disorder. It's just a sensory overload deal. They have a hard time dealing with sensory. A lot of people don't like public speaking. I don't mind getting in front of a bunch of people and talking. It doesn't bother me at all, but there's a lot of people that bothers. And I think autism is that way. People just don't like to be confronted with anything that's outside of their comfort zone in their little box that they're in. And I really believe that. And I think autism gets a bad rap because it's really not how am I trying to say this? It's not a horrible thing like a lot of people think it is. It's not going to keep you from achieving greatness is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Right. No.
And
tech entrepreneur Elon Musk has revealed he has Asperger's syndrome while appearing on the U.S. comedy sketch series SNL.
Yeah, that don't surprise
me. The
me.
49-year-old told viewers he was the first person with Asperger's to host the long-running program.
He's the greatest entrepreneur of our time.
But now Asperger's, that's it's on the spectrum, but that's not full blown. That's like way down the list of autism.
Well, when I said spectrum, I meant just people.
I know, but if you have Asperger's, you're high functioning.
Yes,
yeah, very high functioning.
So a lot of these kids with autism that are helping, are they full on the spectrum? Or are they?
It varies.
Because I don't think I've ever been around anybody that was really autistic that was really bad but that had it. Everybody I've been around that has it has just got a little I have been around someone that's full.
Yeah.
Oh, I sure have. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
I do. We do have someone that we know.
Do they ever worry about the autistic individual hurting the dog? Because there's when things get too bad, they can turn violent, can't they?
Yeah. So that's something that is kind of through the interview process.
Oh, okay.
If it's going to be a right fit,
right.
Because we don't want anybody hurting a dog. And if that's a possibility, that might not be the correct fit for that child,
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize bolting was common for autistic kids.
Bolting.
I just recently was aware of that. They'll just run.
Oh, okay. When you said bolting, I did not know what you mean. So they'll just where will it?
Just take off
wherever the wind takes them.
They'll lose them. Yeah, in Walmart, and they might be hiding in a clothes rack for hours, because they wanted to play hide and seek or whatever.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
What a horrible disease for kids or for anybody. It's
just I want to know if, and I don't know if research will ever tell us this, but did we have the same amount of autistic individuals 40 years ago as we do today? We've just gotten so much better at diagnosing it. And I understand, we'll never know that, but it would be interesting because we've come so far in our research for autism that we're getting a whole lot better at picking up whether a child is autistic or not. But it would be interesting to know if, yes, there were, no, there weren't. This is what's causing it. I don't know.
I think when I was a kid, we just called them quirky little fuckers.
Well, or just a misbehaved kid. That's probably what it was in the 80s. Oh, he's just I can't rein him in.
Yeah, you probably are. There's probably some of that too. I can tell you this: when I was a kid, there wasn't near as many children with Down syndrome as there are now.
You don't think so?
I don't. I think I didn't. I knew a couple of people that had little brothers or sisters that were Down syndrome or the kid down the street, but not like there are now. Well, there ain't nothing more pure in the world than a child with Down syndrome. They got the sweetest souls in the whole world. And if you've been around a child with Down syndrome, you'll know that. They're just peaceful. It takes a really special parent, those kids too, boy. My heart goes for them people.
Between 1979 and 2003, the number of babies born with Down syndrome has increased by 30%.
Yeah. You just didn't know very many.
Do you think? I wonder if that's because we're seeing everybody saying testosterone is dropping off. Guys our age, kids younger than us, they don't have the testosterone that the guy in World War II did. I wonder if some of these Down syndrome and autism are related to the decrease in testosterone in men.
I have no clue. It's way out of my ballpark. I don't even know how that would come together.
I don't either. But something's obviously changing. We're seeing 1 in 44 kids has autism now. Is that what you said?
Yep.
And I think in the 80s it was 1 in 120.
Yeah, 1 in 120, 1 in 150, something like that.
The 1 in 44 shocks me. I figured it would be a higher number than that. Because, no, we're talking, when you say 1 in 44, we're just talking about anybody on the spectrum, right?
Right.
Yeah, that surprises me.
That it's that low?
Yeah, I would think it would be higher than that. I would think that it would be close to 10%. Have some sort of...
1 in 10?
Yeah.
That's a big number, Jeff.
Well,
you got to figure 1 in 10 would be, that'd be astronomical.
Some form of autism, not... I'm talking about just Asperger's, something.
Yeah. So does Tracer know when somebody is talking to you face to face? He automatically knows. I'm assuming it's a he. I'm sorry if it's a she.
Yeah, it's a he.
He automatically knows. Okay, I need to be the bridge between I need to be the buffer between the two, between you and whoever you're talking to in front. Or is that something you have to he has to feel and pick up on?
Yeah, I don't use that one overly a lot anymore. Some of our other clients do.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a task that we train almost all the dogs to do. I use more rear where he sits behind me than in front of me.
Right.
And that he does just, if we're somewhere, he knows that, okay, this is where I just go behind.
Right.
And sit there.
Does he lean up against you when he's behind you?
Yep.
So he'll lean right up against you.
Yep.
And what does he, if somebody is crowding, what does he do? Or does he do anything? Or you just feel more pressure?
I'll probably feel more pressure. At that point, I guess he would move or lean into me more to where I would look around and figure out what's going on. Why is he moving? Or what's going on. And I would probably adjust myself at that point. We do not train any of our dogs to be defensive or aggressive in any manner.
Right. So he's not going to hackle up if a toddler. So that's another one of my questions. If it says you don't want to pet the service dog.
Right.
What is that? Is it because they're on duty and that would take their attention from somebody else, would take their attention away from you?
Yes.
That's what it is?
It's a distraction. It'd just be like if you were working, or like right now, if somebody came up and tapped you on the shoulder and we're in the middle of a conversation doing a podcast,
right,
you'd be distracted.
Right.
So if somebody comes up and talks to him or pets him while he's out in Walmart, then he's not paying attention to me because he's distracted. Mm-hmm. And the other thing with that, if they get pet a lot, they could start going and seeking attention. And if they start seeking attention, they lose their public access because they're not doing their job at that point.
Right, right. So how much, like with your family, or friends' family come over, what do you do with him? Does he kind of socialize, or do you put him up? Like if you have somebody over that, obviously you trust, what do you try to do in the social settings?
When his vest is off, he's a normal dog. Right. So when we're at home and his vest is off and Bentley's, my boy's playing tug of war with him or throwing the ball or whatever, he definitely leans more towards hanging out with me and whatever I'm doing, he's going to do with me.
Yeah.
But he gets a little bit more freedom and he's kind of a dog at that point.
Does he know once the service vest comes on, like, okay,
yeah,
I've got to switch. If I was playing tug of war a minute ago, like, we're not doing that anymore.
Yep. He knows when that vest goes on, it's work mode. Mm-hmm. When it comes off, it's hilarious to watch because as soon as that thing unbuckles and I take that thing off, he's like, I'm free.
It's probably like a shock collar for my dog because when we're hunting, he doesn't like attention. Like, I've got a job to do. There's birds somewhere. Get out of my face. Leave me alone.
Yep.
But when that collar comes off at the house, if you show him any attention, it's game over. He's laying on you. He's rolling over. He's pawing at you. So I got to imagine the service vest for Tracer is the same as the shock collar for my dog, Lou.
Oh yeah, very similar.
It's crazy how we don't give animals enough credit for how intelligent they really are. They might not be smart, but they're intelligent.
Yes.
I mean, it's just it's fascinating. When was the first service dog? Do you know that?
Ooh.
Shit, probably in Egypt.
As a comfort?
It was
who knows? But I would bet you the dawn of time.
You think so? Well, I mean, it probably wasn't called that, but yeah, a companion. But I wonder a dog that is in tune to its handler's emotional state and intervening when need be.
I'll bet you there was a little rich girl or kid that had some kind of problem that they had a dog that was there for them that they just didn't call it that for years. They've probably done them. I think probably the last 15 years it's become publicly accepted, though, to do this, right?
So there's a couple the oldest organization in the United States was formed in the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, it's relatively new. I say that shit, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah, but in the cosmos of time, it's very new.
I mean, 20 years ago, if you got on an airplane and you had a freaking
service dogs weren't legally recognized until the Americans with Disability Act was passed in 1990.
Yeah. 20 years ago, you didn't see someone on a plane with a damn dog and cat.
No.
And now you see it all the time. Did you see that person in California try to get on the damn plane with the little short horse, one of them little miniature horses? Of all things to pick for a service animal, why the fuck would you pick a little damn, a Seattle slew? I just do not understand that, First of all, I don't like picking up. Ollie is a great pet for us. But if I had to worry about him shitting in the airport and me having to clean it up, that'd be the end of that deal. Ain't no way in hell. Can you imagine having to clean up horse shit around your house? No way.
No thanks. They say you can train him to go outside, but that's
horse?
not a task I'd want to take on. Yeah.
Hell no.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know people have deer in their house and stuff, and there's no way. They've got these deer that you can buy, and I think it's called I must butcher the name, so it don't even matter. But anyways, it's a deer that you can train them to shit in the litter box in the house. Just a little small deer about the size of a dick or something, And I thought that'd be a cool little pet to have. Here comes old Bucky running around the house.
I'll look it up.
Now, do you hunt a lot?
I do. Well, as much as I can anymore. That was you had mentioned or asked how I got into duck hunting, or how it kind of tied all together. Well, when I got Tracer, our founder he used to train field trial dogs, and then transitioned into service dog work. And one day he asked me, he's like, "Are you interested in hunting?" And at this time, I was over it. I didn't care. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Well, what if you had a dog that did it with you?" And I'm like, "Might give it a shot. Yeah, maybe." And so he started giving me some things to work on, and started walking me through the force fetch process and the yard work and stuff like that. And I found a lot of enjoyment in that, and seeing Tracer progress through that and learning things. And it was just really exciting. So it got to a point where he didn't have enough time. So I actually started working for his old assistant, training some field trial dogs. And I just progressed Tracer through training. And I went on my first duck hunt in the fall of 2016 and shot my first duck ever. And Tracer retrieved it. And I mean, after that, I was hooked. I had so much fun being out there with a friend and my dog and watching him retrieve the duck that I just fell in love with it, and wound up going to a hunt test around that time in 2016, learned about Delta waterfowl, got hooked up with some of those guys, and just started duck hunting a lot more and more. And then started trying to get as many other veterans and people out duck hunting as possible. So
my dog's a fucking schlub. Like he's a one-track dog. He's a one-trick pony. Tracer back there, he can read your emotional state. He can pick up your ducks and geese. It's amazing.
Both those, that Woody and that pintail, he retrieved both of them. Actually, that wood duck I shot when I was going through treatment in 2017 up in up around Grand Rapids, Michigan, or Minnesota, excuse me. And Tracer, that was my first wood duck, first Drake wood duck, and Tracer retrieved it on a blind retrieve, and
now, when did you enlist? What year did you first enlist?
2006.
2006. And
Yep.
then what was your last tour?
I just did one deployment in 2010, 2011, and then I got medically retired in 2015.
And then 2015. So in the time from your tour ending in 2011 to 2015, were you just stateside, and what did they have you doing?
So I was part of the Iowa Army National Guard. So we had monthly drills, which was usually 2 to 4 days long. And then we do 2 or 3 weeks in the summertime. So we had training every month and then during the summer. So that's pretty much what I did. And then I had a few different full-time jobs or whatever, trying to make ends meet and whatnot.
And you said you shoed horses?
Shod, yep.
Shod horses? That's how you say it?
That's
the industry term?
Correct. Yeah.
That's why your back hurts.
No shit, I was going to say.
No, my back hurts from my deployment. Shoeing horses probably didn't help matters.
I watch those guys do that. There's a guy on TikTok, he does it, and you see him takes that knife and he cuts the hoof off and stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, it looks like it's just going through butter the way they do that shit. And I thought, boy, that's got to be.
They're sharp as shit, man.
Oh,
sharp as shit.
That's got to be the hardest freaking job.
Well, I mean, you're always bent over.
Yeah.
Yep.
What? How long did you do that for?
About 4 years.
What got you into that? Did you always do stuff with horses, or is this something?
No, it was kind of. There were some farriers in the area that were retiring or getting old, and I was kind of did some rodeoing and stuff, and spent some time around some horses, and I was like, hey, this wouldn't be a bad gig. I get to be physical, set my own hours. Everybody's always looking for a good farrier, so why not?
Did you run into the asshole horse?
Yeah. Many a time.
That's got to be a helpless feeling.
Yeah. And the asshole owners too.
Oh, really?
They're worse than the horses are.
Yeah.
Why would they be an asshole? Just because they want their
horse people are a pain in the ass.
Done a certain way?
I would not encourage anybody to get into that business. It's great if you know what you're doing. I mean, like, I love it, right? I love the art of farriery. There's something about it, you know, forging horseshoes and all the science and technique that goes into it. It's really cool, right? But dealing with the people, because there's a lot of people out there that don't need to own a horse. And you got these horses with either little to no training. They don't behave. They don't stand for the farrier. And then the owners, they want to save a couple bucks and not stay on a schedule. Like, if your doctor tells you to come in 6 weeks, what are you going to do?
Probably going to come
Probably go in and get 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So, or you're going to go buy yourself a new pair of shoes when your shoes wear out, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, them horses are on their feet pretty much 24 hours a day, right?
Yep.
And for whatever reason, people don't think that they need to get their hooves trimmed every 6 weeks. So they want to call you up first thing in the spring, say, oh, I need to get my horse's feet done like tomorrow. And it's like, well, you're going to be waiting a couple weeks because I'm busy.
Right.
No. I need them done now. I've got a rodeo coming up, or I've got this trail ride coming up. And you're like, okay, well, all right, we're going to be on a schedule. It's every 6 weeks. You know, you're going to listen and do what I tell you to do because I'm in the business. I look at feet all day long. Yeah, I do this for a living. Well, then you don't hear from them all summer long, and they call you up in October and they're like, oh, I got to get these feet done.
Well, yeah.
So now you're taking off 6 months of growth, and then they haggle you on price, and it's like, I'm bent over all day long. I don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
Stay on a schedule, and it's just
because it's more. I'm assuming it's more money whenever you got these 6 months of growth. Rather, if it was 6 weeks, the price for you coming out would probably be a lot less because you're not having to work near as hard to get this horse back up to where.
Yeah, and there's less injuries, and the horse is in better shape, and it's a lot easier for me to go back in 6 weeks and do maintenance than it is to, fix a bunch of stuff that's wrong and take off 2 inches of hoof.
Yeah. And you would forge your own horseshoes and all that stuff? Would you do that?
I would buy like box keg shoes or whatever that are pre-made, but I would forge and shape those for each individual foot, And then any specialty shoe that I needed, I generally made myself.
Just a jack of all trades.
Yeah. And a master of not many.
That's I recently heard that's only half of that saying. So it's jack of all trades, master of none is still better than the master of one.
Yep, that's right.
So there you go. We got that going for us. Cast a wide net, be well balanced. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming on here. I have enjoyed watching Tracer behind you. He can tell we're talking about him every once in a while. So,
what are you doing, buddy?
You're doing great work. You're helping a lot of people, and we look forward to seeing this. Hopefully, it takes off even more, and there's no telling, sky's the limit. A lot of people need help out there, and
it's a great organization. Y'all do a great job, and we do appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, God bless you. And if you ever get down this way, give us a holler. We'd love to visit and shake your hand.
Sure will. You guys will be up at the dive bomb.
Yes.
This fall, right?
Yeah, yep. we'll be at Squad Fest in July.
You gonna be there?
Perfect. Probably. When's the date again on that?
I think the July 15th and 16th. I believe
that's exactly right.
Maybe.
I will look at Tracer. I will not pet him. All right, bud. Well, listen, we'll see you in July, hopefully. Then.
Hopefully, we'll catch up sometime.
Perfect.
We'll be somewhere.
Good deal. All right, bud. Well, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye. It's July 15th and 16th, the Squad Fest.
It is?
Yep. Come out to St. Louis.
Figured it was.
Get Andy's autograph. Meet some neat people.
I've got to do a video for them. I'm glad we talked about that. Asher wanted it by the end of the month, and 27th cannot be any closer to the end of the month.
I didn't make the cut this year.
You didn't, Jeff.
That's all right.
He said, only the biggest and the best.
Well, congratulations to you.
I'll see if he wants you to do it.
No, I'm good.
It's got to be under a minute.
No, if he'd have wanted me, he would have asked me. Well, I'm very happy with that.
I guess he didn't want you, Jeff.
Yep. All right. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Have a great week. And check out Dive Bomb. Go to divebombindustries.com. See ya.
Go check out all of our great sponsors. We've mentioned Dive Bomb. We've talked about Dirty Duck Coffee. We also got Shin Gear Waders, Pacific Calls, Boss Shot Shells, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Dirty Duck Coffee, again, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Duck Club Podcast, Gundog Outdoors, Take Plains Meat, Stanfield Hunt, Bangtail Whiskey.